Now keep in mind a concept that I keep coming back to, that in algebra, you really have two kinds of scenarios. You have the scenario where you have one type of x, where you get x's on one side, numbers to the other, and then you have where you have more than one type of x. And in that case, you get everything equal to 0, so you could factor and solve. And notice here we have one type of t, more specifically, it's a root of a t. So normally we would want to get those on one side and the numbers to the other. However, they're not even the same kind of root. So we need to simplify one of these roots, more specifically root 8. Now we do have a program that we don't use very often, but it's called radical. So let's go down to radical here, and we could go ahead and type in just the 8, because notice that means root 8, and then it tells us that that simplifies to root 2. So let's go ahead and write that 2 root 2, and obviously that t is still underneath. And I'll just rewrite everything else for now. So in that case, if I go ahead and get the root 2 t's to one side, I would more specifically move to the right, so that way my coefficient's positive. That tends to avoid some errors. And so now I have on the right side 2 root 2t, because I had 4 root 2t, and now I'm subtracting 2 root 2t, so I have 2 root 2t left. It's just like if I had 4x minus 2x, it'd be 2x. Now I'm also going to move this 10 to the left side, and so I get 3, and then I'm going to solve by getting rid of what's more loosely attached. The root and this 2 are very directly attached. This 2 in front is the least directly attached, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Now I have root 2t is equal to 3 halves. I'm going to go ahead and square both sides, so I get 9/4 equals 2t, because the root and the square cancel. Now finally, when I divide by 2, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half, because it would start to look complicated if I divided that 9/4 by 2. I'd rather show it as multiplying by a half. And when you multiply fractions, you can just multiply the numerators and get, I should maybe make that an x here, multiply the numerators to get a 9, multiply the denominators to get an 8. And that matches with option B. Now, as you know by now, I like to show multiple approaches, and I know that you guys are a fan of Desmos, as am I. So let's go ahead and look at how we could have used Desmos. We're going to scroll to the upper right corner of our software, just like you would on the digital SAT. We'll click calculator. Let me go ahead and zoom out here, get things oriented nicely. Now, if I previously used it, you can go ahead and click the gear icon, choose delete all. I was actually practicing this question, make sure I could show it effectively on Desmos. Now let's go ahead and type it in. Something that's interesting as far as shortcut keys are concerned, if I type SQR and then watch when I type the T, square root, it creates the square root. Now that seems not necessarily complicated, but it might be hard to remember. So the other option is we could go to the keyboard down here in the lower left corner, click on it, and then choose square root. And we're gonna type this in. Now keep in mind, you can't really use T unless you're trying to do like a slider, which is only when T is like a constant, and that would be explicitly stated in the instructions. When we're treating it like X, you really wanna just change it to X. So we're gonna go ahead and type everything else in, and you guys know I'm a big fan of just using my own keyboard. Let's say I do type in SQRT, we'll type in the 2X. So I can see the answer here, which is great. It's kind of hard to see the exact value because it's a line, so I can't like click on it and see it. I like to use this version. I think it makes things a little bit easier to see. But even so, let's say I zoom in. I'm not really seeing a specific value. I'll zoom in more. I can definitely see it's somewhere between 1.12 and 1.13. I mean, so that's very, very specific. So it's like maybe it looks halfway between, so it's probably 1.125. There we go. So now I got 1.125. So it took me a little bit of zooming in. Now you'll notice the answer options are all as fractions. Well, if you know about the difference between a proper and improper fraction, the fact that I got 1.125, which is bigger than 1, means that it would have to be an improper fraction. So I could eliminate any proper fractions. So for example, let's actually use this. I can eliminate 9/16 because it's proper. In other words, the numerator is smaller than the denominator. And really, that's the only one I can eliminate. And then I'll just type these in. So let's say 9 divided by 8. Oh, look, I get the right answer. But if I was unsure, I could check the other ones. And you can see that I don't get the 1.125 that I'm looking for. And I still get the correct answer is B.